I am Kate Davis. Usually I'm a youth services librarian, but today I'm hosting an adult who wrote a book, and I'll wait a couple more minutes before I give her a proper introduction, but her mini introduction is she's Gina Hesberg. and,
And
and,
Rafael.
and there's Rafael in the background, her COVID companion. And Gina, are you able to see people saying hi? Mel says hi.
No, but hi, Mel. Hi, Carl. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dion, if you're there.
All right. It's funny, I feel like what I'm seeing on my Facebook is a delayed version of what everyone else is seeing. So we'll stick to what I see in the Zoom, although I'll try to check in with the comments on Facebook. William is sharing for us. Thank you, William. All right. Sweet, are you seeing everyone? Because now I see Carl say hi and Dion. So you saw them before me?
No, they were texting me.
Oh, okay, okay. I was like, what's happening?
I can't see what you're seeing, so.
Okay, that's what I thought, then I was so confused. Okay, well, now that Dion and Carl are here, who we've been waiting for, we're going to keep this obviously very low key. So if you want to grab a drink, it is happy hour. Yeah, I'm debating. Okay, so I have the responsible sparkling water or I have whiskey. Which one should I do? It's happy hour.
I would do whiskey.
Okay,
drink for those who can drink.
What?
Drink for those who can't drink, like Rafael.
Exactly. This one's for Rafael.
All right.
All right. So, and it looks like, so Valerie, is that your mom?
That's my mom.
Hi, Valerie. Welcome. Well, now that mom's here, we'll get started since we're a little bit late. So I will introduce you and then hand it over. So actually, it's very interesting how I met Gina because I met her 10 or 15 years ago when we were both teaching in South Korea. And we were trying to figure out if we've seen each other since we left South Korea. And I don't think we have. So it just happened that I saw that she published a book and I thought it was really interesting, and you'll hear her story. And it's got so many different facets. Well, I don't want to get too much into it. So yeah, it's really interesting where life's journeys take us, that we're now back together virtually. And more about Gina specifically. She is a 20-year Minneapolis advertising vet, and she currently works in Minneapolis as a freelance art producer. And recently she suffered her 4th optic neuritis attack, which is kind of the basis of the story. And she's now an author and an unlikely spokesperson for optic neuritis. And she's a patient advocacy or advocate, I guess, accompanied by her inflatable friend, Rafael, that you see in the background. Welcome to Rafael. And tonight she's going to share about her journey, about making and self-publishing a book while battling a health crisis in isolation. All of this just happened in the past few months during COVID. And she's going to share how this project and of course, Rafael kept her afloat through all of this. So a warm welcome for Gina.
Thank you, Kate.
Welcome.
It's really cool to be crossing paths in this way. As Kate mentioned, we met teaching English in Korea, but not 15 years ago, 12 years ago. And we've had near misses in countries. Like, I feel like I was going to Nicaragua and you were just leaving, and we would try to coordinate. We were always just near misses. So that was really cool. And then it's come full circle. And this is a cool opportunity. So thank you for letting me share, and thank you for viewing. It's cool to virtually host you in my home and have a reason to put on mascara. I'm excited to share about my project. And I first want to start with just sharing a little excerpt from my book. It's called Blowing Up. It's a coffee table book. And I'll just read a short passage from it. I asked Rafael what happened. He explained it was just a case of pandemic brain. I told him I completely understood and asked where he had gone while the toast almost ignited. Gina, you were cooking dinner in the kitchen for your friends. They were all around, dancing and laughing. There was an open bottle of wine, and one of your playlists was going. You were in a dress and even had on mascara. Oh, Raphael, been consumed by the same wave of illness from time to time. Raphael and I threw the burned toast on the floor and danced in honor of our health. So, as Kate mentioned a little bit about my advertising background, I still live in Minneapolis. I'm a single person living in COVID in isolation. And she mentioned optic neuritis, and I just want to explain to you what that is. Optic neuritis is inflammation of the optic nerve. It's an autoimmune response that sometimes can cause irreversible damage to vision. It is often caused by autoimmune disorders and diseases, including MS, MOG, and NMO. It's not limited to that. Sometimes it's caused by infection. I currently remain undiagnosed as far as my cause. So preventative treatment is difficult to narrow down to know if it's going to work. When you have an optic neuritis attack, what they do is they treat you with prednisone to bring down inflammation. And if anybody on here has been on prednisone, or anybody who's been around me on prednisone, realizes that that steroid has a lot of intense side effects, including but not limited to insomnia, insatiable appetite, paranoia, anxiety, depression, body aches. And I found personally that each course I have been on, it's been more difficult for me to tolerate. I personally have always had good mental health and good coping mechanisms, but particularly on prednisone, my mental health is not great. And I have a lot of physical aches. I feel like my teeth are ripping out of my head. And when you're on this drug, you're on it for long courses or high courses, and then you taper for a long time. So I've been on it up to 4 months at a time. So just to give you a little bit of my health background. So in summary about the project, it's this book, this 206-page coffee table book. The sale of each book donates $5 towards credible organizations that I have aligned with that provides patient support as well as research optic neuritis. But it's blowing up into a bigger project where I'm also focused on optic neuritis awareness as well as patient advocacy. So I'm going to share with you how the book came to be. And to do that, I have to go back in time to 2017 when I had my first optic neuritis attack. I, at the time, was under a lot of stress with work. I was working a ton, and I had one particular client that the project was not going smoothly at all. Every corner, it seemed like, was a huge hurdle, and my energy and my resilience was just depleting. And I ended up with a crazy infection, flu-like respiratory, all sorts of symptoms, and they never really identified what that infection was. And despite feeling lethargic, I proceeded to travel about a month later and had my first optic neuritis attack while I was traveling alone in Nicaragua. What came after that was I was seeing a neuro-ophthalmologist, and he was sort of set on my diagnosis being MS, and I really wasn't getting the kind of care I needed to understand what was going on with me and this infection I had and how I should be feeling. And I sort of got out from under his care and was conservatively told that my probability of MS was pretty low, and I had just had this infection that would take a while to recover from. And so I really celebrated taking control of my health and focused on being healthy. And I booked a trip, and at the same time I met a man, and we can't get excited about that because this person violated me in a way that I didn't know existed. And he set me on another 6 months of unknowing of my health after I just gone through this horrible course, and it triggered my next attack. And when that hit, I realized that I had to go to this place where I had to heal myself emotionally, mentally, and physically. And I went to all sorts of resources. I talked to lots of different doctors. I went as far as a shaman in Peru. I stopped working in advertising for a bit and went to work for a nonprofit because I thought my life needed some sort of purpose, and this is what the universe was telling me. I was grasping for anything, but doing all this work. And eventually, I came to a much better place emotionally and physically, and felt that I had regained who I was as a person and my health. And I accepted more of a long-term contract with the objective to save money so that I could provide myself with stable housing, as well as give myself the gift of going and travel again and celebrating and reclaiming my independence, because that is just my highest value. As you know, Kate and I taught in South Korea. And so that's where I find myself is traveling. And so I'm going to share my screen now. So bear with us for a moment while I get that up and running. Just a second. It's not giving me what I want. There we go. And here we go. Okay. So in January of last year, I was fortunate enough to get all my ducks in a row to take myself on a 3-month sabbatical to celebrate my health and my independence. And I really wanted to take some time to sort of write and process what I had been through and what I experienced. To be transparent, patients go through a lot of trauma when you're being tested perpetually with no answers. I had 4 spinal taps, 2 of which were deemed obsolete. I've probably had 30 MRIs. I've been given no information, or sometimes I've been given incorrect catastrophic information. And my interactions with doctors are often very quick. So I really just wanted to process on paper all these things I had been through and just sort of get them out of me and reflect, and thought that I was looking in the rear view mirror on this journey. Some of my doctors suspected that these 2 attacks were what fell into a category of people that just have 2 attacks and they never have an attack again. So I was very optimistic. So I went on this journey, and I was in Spain and Portugal and Morocco, and COVID erupted and President Trump spoke, and I found myself rushing to Casablanca to get on the second to the last flight out of the airport before the border shut down, which sounds much more romantic than it was. And so when I came home, I self-isolated for 3 weeks. I quarantined for 3 weeks because we didn't know a lot about the virus, and I had been through 3 airports on my journey home. And I wrote a list of projects, and one of my projects was to clean out my dresser drawer. And in the bottom of it, I found Rafael, who had been previously used as a prop to scare people on cabin trips, or I took him on my 40th birthday trip. And so he was just a practical joke. And I blew him up, and I wrote my first post about him. And the first post was really just an expression of empathy towards everybody, as to what we were going through. I felt like I had been through this before. The state had just put us on lockdown. And after my first attack, I had to stay home. My only events were going to the doctors. I had no energy. I lost my biggest client. I had no work coming up, and I had compounding medical bills. And so my health and financial future was unknown and fearful and spiraling out of control. And so I just encouraged people to, pause and take into note what the universe was telling them, and that everything was going to be okay. And so it started from there. And then I started to post with Rafael infrequently, in between other posts. And what I noticed was we didn't get a lot of likes, and we still don't get a lot of likes. And I don't have 1 million followers, but people really individually engaged with Rafael and the posts. And so creatives from the local industry would email suggestions or text me, or strangers would send messages through Instagram, or people I hadn't talked to in 15 years would asked me what Rafael was up to that day. And that kind of kept growing, and he really came to life, and he became a tool for me to connect with outside life while we were confined by physical barriers. And it also gave me a daily practice in art and something to do and something that was fun, and people were looking forward to it. And I also realized that it was this incredible coping mechanism, as Rafael already makes everybody uncomfortable. And so I could say all those things I was thinking and filter it through Rafael. I could deflect. And so I could just really throw some bigger things out there and let it pass through this blow up doll. So just to go back a little bit, the last 8 out of the last 8 months, I've been on prednisone for over 5. And as mentioned, the side effects are very difficult. So this project really grew into something much bigger because it kept me afloat during a difficult time, and it gave me direction. I told people that I was making a book, so then I had to make a book. I was accountable for it. And so now I'm going to talk about specifically what the book is and how it sort of manifested. It's a 208-page coffee table book that journals my life in isolation, sort of daily diary of mine and Rafael's interaction. And then I created and produced a fake surprise ending. And $5 of the sale of each book goes towards credible organizations that support optic neuritis patients and research that I have aligned with. I never intended to ever make a book. I never intended to be an author. But what happened was, at the end of May, I had my 3rd optic neuritis attack after being asked to move from my housing abruptly. And I found myself on a ton of prednisone, recovering from my 3rd spinal tap, trapped in my apartment with spotty internet, as my city erupted in grief after the George Floyd incident. And so I was alone with all this anxiety and excess energy and not sleeping, and helicopters were going over and gunfire was outside and fires were erupting in my neighborhood. And so I called a friend who I just really adore and appreciate her mind. She's a business strategist, but she also understands creative, and she's a big picture thinker. So I said to her, after some people encouraged me to make a book of Rafael, I said to her, I'm on a lot of prednisone, so please let me down easy, but I want to run this idea by you. And she said, fire away. And so I told her that I wanted to make a book about Rafael, and I just stated with a $5 charitable donation for helping patients like me. And maybe after I break even on this project, there's potential that I could use it as a tool to help support myself and cover some of my medical expenses, and then also just empower myself in a really difficult time and give myself some direction and trajectory. And this woman, Tracy, who was the VP of New Business and Strategy at Little & Company, which is a branding agency in Minneapolis, said, I have to hang up the phone with you right now because I'm calling Joe, who is the president of the company, and we're doing this. And there was no further discussion. And within an hour, she had sent me a meeting invite with a team to kick off this project and designing the book. And miraculously, the other vendors needed to produce this book fell into place, donating their time. And over the course of the last 8 months, it's been an incredible gift to see all these different vendors step up to help me with the pieces that I don't know about, or I just need somebody to help me process. And it's now a physical book and it's out there in the world, but it's super surreal to me that there's this tangible item, but to me, it was my coping mechanism, and still is. It's the thing that keeps me going. And what's been most compelling now that it's out there and getting in the hands of people is that people are starting to buy more copies for friends who are going through a difficult time or having health issues. And I'm getting messages that it's making them laugh and it's making them cry and that they can relate to it. And so at this point, I think I've already found my success in that it's touching people when we are all in this catastrophic time. I learned quite a bit in this process that I would never ever have thought I would learn. I did do a Kickstarter campaign, which I funded. It covered roughly 65 to 70% of the hard costs of the book. But more than anything, I learned this great process of how to write a Kickstarter campaign. I wrote a video script. I acted, read a teleprompter in 97-degree weather. These are things I never thought I would do. And then I've also just done grassroots advertising on Facebook. And it's been really interesting and fun to sort of see what sticks, just throw things up against the wall and see what sticks. And I have not, I haven't come down to a science with this. The one thing that I do know is that in order for people to go to the step of purchasing the book, the project has to hit them at their heart. And for some people, that's other optic neuritis patients, or for some people, it's the humor of Rafael. For some people, it's the design of the book. People have been engaged because they're small business owners, and the reality of my situation is that I have to maintain my business status of an S corporation in order to support the current health insurance plan I have. So the book is helping me, hopefully helping me sustain that, so I can continue to work with the doctors that I'm working with. I had to just Google everything, and including how do you get your book copyrighted, how do you get an ISBN number. And so it's been an incredible learning process. And I've also had this great Minneapolis advertising community who's been sort of cheerleading me on and championing me and helping me with this process. I self-published because I didn't ever think about anybody publishing a book of mine. I never thought I would write a manuscript and send it in. I have no idea about that process. I've always had to just sort of do things my own way. And I think it's also been particularly important for me to have control over the brand and how this project goes. I am very concerned about my credibility because I am a patient and I'm speaking on the behalf of patients. So this is just the course that I went, and it's been good so far. But most importantly, the things that I've learned are you really need to invest in your relationships. I had some amazing people show up in incredible ways that I never thought I would ever ask for anything of. And that, sometimes the things we need come in packages that we don't expect, like a blow-up doll. I never thought I would write a book about a blow-up doll. And that on this journey of life that is sometimes extremely difficult, we can write our own roadmap and problem solve on our journey in our own way. If the project speaks to you and you're interested in finding more about optic neuritis or purchasing a book, please visit the website. It's Blowing Up Rafael with an F specifically. It means God of Healing. And there you'll find more statistics about optic neuritis, as well as some patient resources. So with that, I just really want to thank everybody for their time and for listening tonight. And if anything, I hope you had a takeaway personally, and maybe you apply to your own creative project or passion project, and that you learned something about optic neuritis. So thank you again. And I will get my mouse to work so I can stop sharing my screen.
Well, thank you, Gina. And obviously it's been kind of a difficult path, as you shared a lot of things. So thank you so much. I would like to remind our viewers on Facebook that if you have any questions, you can type them into the comment section, and I will ask Gina, because we're filming in Zoom, so we're in a different space than Facebook. But I wanted to know, what is your favorite, I guess, post or page
here
in the book?
The one I read is one of my favorites, but I do have one that sticks out in particular, and I should have marked it, but it always has gotten a lot of attention.
So is it your most popular one, or a favorite one, or a bit of both?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you what my most popular one was, but I think that this one in particular, you think I would know where it happened on my journey, got a lot of attention and people kept coming back to referencing the writing on it. So I'll go ahead and read it. It is from April 16th of last year. And it says, sometimes at night, Rafael and I lie on the living room floor watching the headlights from the street below dance on the ceiling. Sometimes we put on music and pretend we are in a club. Sometimes we imagine it's a friend coming to see us. Better yet, a hero coming to save us. Raphael asks if I hope my pretend hero has big biceps like him. I confess that I regularly dream about a tiny little puppy coming to love me unconditionally. He rolls over and sighs, bringing me back to earth. He says, Gina, you can't get a puppy, which translates to, you have everything you need. I ask him to change the playlist, and I accept that I am very happy in this moment with just the headlights dancing over my head.
So was that based on a real moment? It's very poetic and detailed.
Well, so one thing that I did when I got home for another project that I did, which I never realized the magnitude of how much physical training I should have done for this, was that I held virtual dance parties for an hour a night for 15 nights.
If you do that again, I want an invite.
It actually keeps off the COVID-15. But I was pretty like by night 10, I was like, holy crap, what did I sign up for? But again, because I said I was doing it. But like I changed my lighting every night and like dressed up and changed the theme. And I think that I definitely know that that was one night after a dance party that sort of, some of them sort of got a little crazy and extended with just a few people. And people would pull out, they'd have their own costumes and props and whatnot. So I think it was probably after one of those, but also just feeling sad, missing my friends, wondering
Yeah.
people who are out there doing things in the world were doing.
Yeah. No, it's very relatable for sure. As a writer, what would you choose as your like mascot or avatar or spirit animal, whatever you'd want to label it?
Oh God, that's a really hard question. And it's weird when you say as a writer. I always said that I would love to be a tree, which sounds probably horrible, but I think that they're pretty, pretty unique organisms. Is that the correct term?
Oh, yes. I'll say yes. I haven't taken biology in a long time.
Yes. I know 23 years for me. Just because they observe so much, and then they reach into the ground and they communicate to each other, and they try to protect and heal each other. And then as well, the wind goes through them and doesn't often blow them over. So a tree, which isn't a spirit animal.
Why not? It's those Guardians of the Galaxy. So
Oh yeah,
Groot, basically.
I saw that for the first time.
Dion has a comment. I don't see a question mark, so I'm not sure if it's a question, but I'll share it with you. There are so many people right now, and for the last year, who have felt particularly lonely and vulnerable. It was interesting that you said about what you said about Rafael being the channel for you, communicating your thoughts. I'd love you to talk more about that, about him being a sounding board and a voice for you.
I may get emotional with this response, but I will tell you that it is not easy to be going through a health crisis. For one, a lot of my life is, I would say, 15 to 20 hours a week is just managing my healthcare. I'm doing a lot of research and advocacy on my own. I'm investing an exorbitant amount of time and expenses to try to figure out, or finances to figure out what is going on with me. And I feel that I have to be strong and that I have to be resilient. And I don't always feel that way. And so it's a great way to get those things off my chest that I maybe don't feel that I can expose to other people because they expect me to be a certain way. But also that I do it through this thing this wonderful thing, Rafael, that has come into my life that reminds me that we can't be serious all the time. That laughter is the best medicine. That you need to take another perspective. So it's been something great to play with because I can vomit out what's troubling me, but then like him, it's malleable. I can turn it into something else. And again, through him, other people can relate to what I'm going through as a single person in isolation, that layer alone, and then going through sort of this health crisis in this time where nobody understands what's going on around them.
Yeah. Thank you. A little bit on that note, because you've talked about how important Rafael has been in this process. What is your favorite memory with Rafael? And just so everyone knows, Rafael was around pre-COVID, so there could be people in the memory.
I don't think that I have one specific memory, but like I had to have a couple socially distanced events to orchestrate the end of the book, or people wanted to do events with him outside. And what's been most interesting is how people all of a sudden embrace him as him, and they run with it. And I've lost 3 Raphaels to other people, and like I have
COVID.
Yeah, like they were like, I just want to take him on this, and then they don't bring him back. Like he's stuck at a cabin up north right now.
Rafael.
I know. He how people have embraced it, and it's become real to him too, and like they have conversations about how they want to find him pants, or he needs to be wearing shoes, or they want to take him here or there. And so yeah, he's just it's just how other people, it's become real to them. It's just not my crazy imagination.
Yes, but I see that he's not wearing pants. He's a shorts guy.
He's a speedo. He's a speedo guy. He's got his winter ones on now.
A little more covered up than usual, I did notice.
Yeah.
And then you kind of touched on it. I was going to ask, how did Rafael get his name? And you mentioned the meaning behind the name. Did you choose Rafael knowing that meaning, or was that just fortuitous?
No. So I have to credit a friend, Sarah Coleman, because she actually got Rafael to scare her little sister. And then I decided I needed to borrow Rafael. And so I just sort of adopted him. And I'm pretty sure she named him. I think she named him, and he came with the name. But for some reason I decided specifically to spell it with an F, and I don't know if that had been because I had just been in Spain. But then I learned later, not until probably July of the summer, that Rafael with an F meant God of healing, and that kind of struck a nerve with me.
Nice. I just saw another message pop up, so let's check in with our audience. Hello, this is Gina's niece. For my 14th birthday party, I went to my aunt's house with my friends to swim in her pool, and before they arrived, we hid Rafael in the bathroom to scare them. It was very fun.
I forgot about that, but that was a good one. I had done that a lot. But yes. And that was a fun birthday party.
So who had the best reaction? Like, was he like sitting on the toilet or washing his hands?
He was sitting on the toilet. But I would say like one of my best memories was my friend invited us to her cabin for the 4th of July weekend, and we'd been partying all day, and everybody came back to the cabin, and it was like 12 people. It wasn't it's like a lake home. It's not even a cabin. And it has these big bay windows all around the kitchen. And so I decided, when everybody was a little, altered, that I was going to climb out the bedroom window and run around and run with Rafael against the window. And my friend even knew that I was doing it and I had done it to her before, and I did it. And like, even she nearly passed out. And I know that it sounds super juvenile of me, but like, I was recovering from my first attack at that time when I was doing that. And so it gave me these great rushes of endorphins, surprising people with him. And so my friend and I took him to Isla Mujeres for my 40th birthday for a long weekend. And that was just shortly after my second attack. And we blew him up and took him all over the island the day of my birthday. And it was really funny because all of like the American tourists would sort of act like they just weren't seeing him. But the natives to the island would totally joke and get into it. And then we did meet a couple from Australia, and they thought it was the most hilarious thing. And we like took them swimming, and yeah, so we had a lot of fun with them.
That is one of the kind of, I don't know, hashtags or the right word for it, but tagline, I guess, like he's a pool toy. when you see him, he's a pool toy. I'll ask one more question, unless any other viewers have a question for Gina. Because I mentioned something about being a writer, and I noticed you kind of be like, oh, writer. Do you have anything else that you want to write, or was this project more a vehicle for other purposes, or what do you see in your future in terms of books and writing?
Well, the weird thing is that September of 2019, I went and saw a psychic at the Renaissance Festival. This gets really cheesy really quickly.
Oh, I love it.
After some mead, I went and saw a psychic at the Renaissance Festival. And she read my energy and she started talking to me, and she said, you need to be a writer, you need to write something. I see it being in a public format. You're advocating for something. And it like registered to me that I had seen the same exact psychic about 13 years before, and she told me the same thing. And I recorded it on my phone, and then I completely forgot about the psychic reading. And then after this book was halfway into production, I remembered that. And I think that fortunately I have a natural creative skill with writing. It wasn't something that I was trained in. I've always written short stories and thought I should send them in. But it's hard to register that I'm a writer or an art author, but I do see it, one, as a vehicle to expand this project of optic neuritis awareness and patient advocacy. And I have a blog on my website that I'm trying to develop. I'm choosing difficultly in an alternative route with my healthcare right now. I'm investing in a naturopath MD, which is going a different path than my practitioners at the Mayo. And I'm doing this as kind of a last effort to figure out really what's going on with my body and heal myself versus masking a symptom and seeing if that works. Because the reality is I'm fighting for my vision. And now I just lost my train of thought. Oh, but where would I go with it? So keeping the blog, but I also feel like there's a bigger story, and it's sort of the road to Rafael. I personally feel that when we have to heal ourselves physically, it's a deeply spiritual experience. You have to reconcile a lot of stuff and come to terms with a lot of stuff. And you have to work on yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally. And when you're going through something, you question your mortality and your priorities every day. And you dig deep and you start to reconcile things that you maybe have been carrying around for a long time. And so I think that there's more to this process. I don't know how that's going to come out of me creatively, if it's writing or if it's painting, which I also do, but this exploration will continue in different ways. And the objective is that if I have to go through this crap, maybe somebody can gain some insight to their own health or journey that they're on with that.
Yeah, I love that. And you can see already that you've been an inspiration. So hopefully other vehicles come through. We have one more question and we also have a suggestion. So if you get the wrong answer, I'll tell you the right answer according to Mel.
Oh,
Casey, and another friend of ours from Korea, asked who would voice Rafael in a movie. Also, hi, Casey.
oh God, that I have not decided that yet.
Well, if you were
Twice for a while.
which you are, who comes to mind first?
I have no idea. Oh my gosh, Casey, pressure. I feel like Casey should have a suggestion.
Well, like I said, Mel's got your back. Although he looks so much like an actor that I have to say this actor's voice, even though I think he passed away, unfortunately. Casey says, hi guys, so proud of y'all.
Oh, hi, Casey. What's Mel's suggestion? This is horrible. I don't know. I should know this by now, but I don't know.
So Mel says John Leguizamo.
Ah.
And then your mom's account, but maybe your niece, says Danny DeVito?
Maybe. Maybe, yeah.
When I look at him, I see Burt Reynolds. And so that I feel like it should be his voice.
I don't know.
But you know, I haven't gotten my copy of the
accent. He's gotta sound mysterious. Like he'll tell you he's from Spain, but his papers say he's from China. So like his voice has got to throw you off the scent.
The Tommy Wiseau accents.
Yeah.
Casey did give a suggestion. I'm thinking Antonio Banderas.
Ooh, hell yeah. I mean, I would work with him in Hollywood.
So there you go. Now you've got to reach success with the book. So the book just came out a week or two ago?
2 weeks, a little less than 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can buy it at blowinguprafael.com, correct? You can also follow Gina at The Next Project Is Me on Instagram. And you can do some hashtags for Rafael, hashtag blowing up Rafael, hashtag COVID companions. Is that one?
Sure. Yeah.
We'll do it.
Rafael, Gina and the blow up doll.
Yeah, I think you see some suggestions if you go to the website. But hopefully you feel inspired, at least to follow her on Instagram, if not to purchase a book. And remember the part of the book, what's the right word?
$5 of each sale goes towards credible organization that support optic neuritis patients and research optic neuritis. I didn't say that well, but.
Yes, thank you for saying it more eloquently than I could. And thank you for everyone that joined us live. The video will live on our Facebook page, and also a YouTube video will be created. So after the fact, you can share the video and watch it again and again. And thank you so much, Gina. It's been really fun to catch up with you for our cocktail hour. Cheers. And yeah, thank you for sharing your journey with us. And I'm excited to see where it goes. And hopefully we're hosting you for another book talk soon.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
One step at a time.
Yeah. This book just has been out for a week or two. So go out and buy that book, and then we'll work on the next one.
Sounds good.